And then it happened. One morning you woke up, and the silence was shattered. No longer were you the master of the universe. Now there were 99 million other voices on this planet who wanted to be heard. Good morning. I've been waiting for you to wake up. You laughed. It had to be a dream. But the birds outside your window were still arguing about the best branch to catch the morning sun. The cat on the fence was still complaining about humans taking up too much space. In a single night, every animal on Earth had gained the ability to speak. At first, it felt like a miracle. As a pet owner, you could finally ask your animal what it wanted, how it felt, what it dreamed about. But after a few days, the novelty wore off and you began to notice something unsettling. Your dog demanding more exercise, your cat refusing to use the litter box, your parrot insisting on a bigger cage. Suddenly, every animal was an activist, every creature a petitioner. The same was true across the planet. Lions in zoos demanded to be let into the hunting grounds. Dolphins in aquariums refused to perform tricks for fish. Parrots told crowds of stunned visitors about their captivity. Elephants refused to breed in captivity. Nightingales demanded protection for their shrinking habitat. Animals spoke, and humanity listened. For the first time, we got answers to questions that had puzzled us for centuries. Do whales have names for each other? Yes, and they call each other by name. What do ants think as they build their colonies? They think of it as their one big task. How did bees create the honeycomb? They invented it over millions of years of evolution. But soon, the miracle began to unravel. With voices came demands. Farm animals refused to be slaughtered. Cows argued about the morality of the dairy industry. Chickens begged to keep their eggs. Pigs refused to be fattened up. Suddenly, every meal on your plate became a moral argument. Every bite to eat, a philosophical debate. Veganism went from a choice to a necessity. Those who continued to eat meat were seen as animals' rights activists, argued that wild animals should also have rights. Wolves refused to be relocated, insisting on keeping their territory. Elephants demanded safe migration routes. Birdsong turned into complaints about noisy airports and solar panels. Rats in the city complained about being poisoned. In the countryside, they complained about foxes. Fish in the sea complained about plastic pollution. So much for man's dominion over nature. Humanity was no longer the sole ruler of Earth. It now had billions of new voices, all demanding justice. The world descended into chaos. Courtrooms overflowed with cases where animals sued humans for their rights. Should rabbits be allowed to hop on roads? Should turtles be allowed to cross streets? Should worms be protected from being dug up? Political systems collapsed under the weight of debates. Should parrots vote? Should whales have their own nations? Should mosquitoes be allowed to feed if they asked politely? Should pigs wear sunscreen? Should crabs be allowed to scuttle sideways on public property? Should deer pay for the crops they ate? The answers were never clear. Cities turned into soundscapes of endless chatter. Pigeons argued about who owned which statue, whose turn it was to sit on which windowsill. Squirrels shouted about stolen acorns. Dogs gossiped about every passerby. Birds tweeted about the weather, and cats, cats carried on as before. They still liked sitting on fences, judging human activity with barely concealed disdain. The silence of nature was gone forever. Humanity, once proud of its unique intelligence, now felt drowned out by the sheer flood of voices. It was easy to feel sorry for yourself, to yearn for the old days when nature was silent, when you could walk in a forest without hearing a peep, when you could watch a whale breach without an audience, when you could admire a bird's nest without knowing whose home it was. It seemed like a betrayal. How could nature, which had been here so much longer than humanity, suddenly turn around and demand rights, privileges, protections? It seemed unfair, but it wasn't. Then came the day when every voice was heard. It happened at the United Nations, the highest seat of human power. That is where a gorilla wearing a suit and holding a tiny briefcase delivered a powerful speech about deforestation. A shark, its skin leathery with age, warned about the dying oceans. A group of birds sang out their distress about climate change. For the first time in history, Earth spoke to itself, not as a planet of humans ruling over creatures, but as a planet of equal voices, demanding survival. Humanity realized it was outnumbered and maybe, just maybe, outvoted. And then the final question lingered. Could we ever go back? Would we silence them again if we could? Or accept that our pets, our livestock, the wild animals in the forests, and oceans were no longer things but people with voices of their own? Life would never be quiet again. But maybe, just maybe, the world would finally learn to listen.